We acknowledge and respect the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we are meeting upon here today. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationships of Aboriginal peoples to country. We also pay respects to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting or attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia present here. I won't go through the handy tip. I think I will just pass over to you, Hayden. So we're lucky enough to have Hayden with us again, who's going to talk through ClickView, and I'll stop sharing.
Brilliant. Thanks, Abigail, as always. I'll just get my screen up and sharing for everyone. Can I get a thumbs up? That looks all good. Yep, looking good. Beautiful. All right. So, yeah, if you don't know, my name's Hayden. I am the ClickView, we're called customer success managers now. I used to prefer the old term advisor. Advisor made me sound very official, but the customer success manager for South Australia. I'm also a team lead, so I have fellow team members who look after WA and the NT, and also over in Queensland, we've got Maddie over there. So I've got a few offsiders as well, but on a day-to-day basis, when I'm not making sure that they're all okay, I'm looking after the schools here in South Australia, and I have been doing so for about 4 or 5 years now, so for a fair old period of time. I suppose you're all here, and I did recognise a few familiar faces when we were starting up, but for those who haven't been here before, we're all here to learn about the enterprise agreement the department's put in place and talk a little bit about what ClickView is if you don't know already. I do apologise for those who've been to previous sessions about going over some of the same stuff again in maybe a slightly different way. And then we'll talk about, how ClickView aligns to the curriculum and things like that. And I'll show you a couple of brief things before we go to questions. So, yeah, a rough agenda. What is ClickView? What are some of the benefits? We'll dive into the platform, and then we'll go into some more of the details around the partnership. So ClickView itself, we'll share these slides afterwards, so don't read too much into it. You can read it later, but we're here to engage the world's learners through video. We're basically here to provide or collate content from various other providers, video content that is both responsive and relevant to current affairs events, and aligns directly to the Australian curriculum. And currently we're working with over 6,000 schools across the US, the UK and Australia. So you can see that here. 5,500 schools across the world. There's some other institutions in tertiary and other areas that we work in as well. We're looking at 1.2 million active students, around 600,000 active teachers. And when we did this data, 80%, I think it's actually pushed up to 85% with the department's enterprise agreement, but secondary schools in Australia use ClickView. That's secondary and R-12. So we have a really big share of the market in Australia, and I suppose that's because we've been around for about 20 years. More importantly for you guys, we do work with 26 enterprise partners across Australia. Probably the most closely related to Department for Education here in South Australia is we've had an enterprise agreement with the Department for Education in Victoria. So all the schools there have had ClickView for around about 4 or 5 years now as well. So we've got those guys, but we also work with a number of Catholic dioceses and other enterprise partners as well. So what are you going to find in ClickView? You're going to find, as I mentioned before, high quality videos that are engaging, culturally responsive, and award-winning. And we really align our videos that we produce especially to key pedagogical areas. So we look at things like duration. We make sure there's really concrete learning outcomes. We make sure they're engaging. Obviously, you want to use video in the classroom because it's engaging. And then again, we want to make sure that that stuff is really up to date and useful for what we're looking at with today's environment and ever shifting in a variety of ways. Content-wise, we cover everything from all of your core academic subjects. That's all the way from reception up until year 12. So your English, your maths, geography, things like that. But we also have a number of videos around social and emotional learning. There's a great wealth of content from a teacher professional development perspective as well, health education, and also life skills like careers, advice, study skills, things like that. So you're going to find a lot of different content on the platform. And that content comes in a variety of different formats. So we have animations. Our animations are particularly done out of our head office, which is over in Sydney. So we have a small team there who do all of our animations. We also have scripted dramas and documentaries that are produced out of our Melbourne office in Carlton. So we have actors, directors, ex-teachers, sound designers, things like that. And if we don't have the expertise ourselves, we'll bring in other teachers and contractors to help us out there. And then we've also got films and TV shows and other documentaries as well on the platform as well to sort of help flesh out the content if we can't produce it in-house. These are the content producers we work with as an example. BBC is probably the most relevant and recent big one, about 5,000 videos direct from the BBC. You can see on the right-hand side here, there's a bunch of different video producers and 200 in totality. So that's only a small selection there. Now, as I mentioned, we are aligned to learning outcomes. So curriculum alignment, region specific, we have curriculum alignment in the UK, in the US, and in Australia. Our videos are produced specifically for the Australian curriculum first, being that we are an Australian company. And we basically, if we don't have a video that we've produced in-house, then we adapt it to Australia. So we might even change the voiceovers to have an Australian voice. We'll make sure the closed captions are written in Australian, UK English rather than US. And then, basically we want our students to learn with familiar accents, terminologies, colloquialisms, that sort of stuff. So the learning experience is as seamless as possible. And then to take things to the next step, we all know that video in itself is a great medium, but we really need to shift the learning from something that's more passive into something that's more active. So it's more than just awesome content that we really do live and breathe. We have functionalities that will allow you to clip and edit videos to pick out very specific parts for your students as a staff member. There are resource packs and worksheets that come with all of the videos that we produce and a number of other content providers as well to turn that into a more active lesson. We have interactive question sets that live on top of the video that you can get real-time feedback from your class as a teacher. And then we also have access to Frog there as well. So basically, if you're using Frog or learning management systems, aligned learning management systems, you can put all your ClickView content in there. You can have your students watch it there, and then those real-time results will feed back into your ClickView account. So lots of different tools and pathways there. Now, why has the Department for Education partnered with ClickView? Well, it allows us to provide better and more consistent outcomes for more schools. So it's a one price fits all for all schools across the board in terms of per student rates, which is really nice, that consistency. And it allows us to sort of take things to the next level. As I mentioned, I've been with ClickView for about 4 or 5 years now. We've been working with South Australian schools for 20 years. And this is going to mean that we can do more training, work with the teams at the department to align ClickView's content to what the teaching and learning goals of the department are across the board. And it will also allow us to utilise some enterprise level features that should give teachers across the board access to a wider variety of content. And I'm really excited to continue to work with Abigail and the team at the department to deliver training academies, more webinars and all this sort of stuff so your teachers have all the tools and all the information that they need at their disposal to not only get the most out of ClickView, but also get the most out of video learning generally and learn what the real, meat and potatoes pedagogy behind video learning is and how to really deliver it to their students. So that is why the department has partnered with ClickView. And that brings me nice and short and sharply to the demo. But were there any questions about that, Abigail, or anything anyone wanted me to touch on before we moved on?
There's been nothing so far in the chat, but please feel free to type in your questions, or because we are a smallish group, you're welcome to come off mute and ask as well.
Yeah, yell them out. Beautiful. Well, I'll crack on, but please, as Abigail said, do chuck it in the chat, and we'll touch on that as well. So in this demo, I'm not going to dive into too much detail about how I would use it as a teacher on a day-to-day basis, like searches and things like that. I just want to show you some really key things about ClickView that may, show you how we kind of stand out from the rest. So on the dashboard here, and you'll be able to log into ClickView via EdPass. So if you haven't given that a go already, if you are just learning about ClickView now through this Department Enterprise deal, please do try and log in through EdPass at some stage and have a bit of a look. But I want to show you first this search by curriculum section here, because this will really quickly show you how we're actually aligned to the curriculum. So press the search button here. Going to whack in a subject. Let's just say I'm teaching English today. Let's say I'm teaching year 9s. Let's say I'm teaching the literacy strand. And of course, at any point along this pathway, you can kind of stop and have a bit of a browse. But just for today's purposes, I'm going to go right down to a particular ACARA code. And all of these videos here, which is I've actually done pretty well with, there's quite a few, are specifically linked to that ACARA content descriptor there. And we are updating these for Curriculum 9. So we're actually going through the process of going to Curriculum 9, as I'm sure all of you are thinking as well. By the time we learn about ACARA 9, we'll be on ACARA 10. So we're getting there as quickly as we can. But what we'll do is we'll actually go options as well and view curriculum links. And here you can actually see where that alignment is. So as a teacher, I obviously not going to remember all of these off by heart, which is fair enough. But I can see, hey, if I'm playing this video to a bunch of year 9s, I'm hitting those learning outcomes. It's actually rated for year 10 English as well. So some of my advanced students probably not going to get too bored, but it also aligns to year 7 and year 8. So potentially some students who might be struggling, something like that, are going to be able to understand that and not feel like they're out of their depth as well. So that looks like a good range for me, and I can then potentially look at using this video. So that curriculum alignment is really, really helpful. Now, I'm just going to go back to the dashboard here, and I'll show you as an example a video with some resources, if I can think of one. I reckon this mini clip here might have one. Mini clips, just so you know, not too much detail, but that's just one of the series we produce, for example. So I'm going to click on this video here, and I'll just pause it for now. And you can see on the right-hand side here with our videos, and then again, some of the videos that we get from producers and things like that, we obviously work with them. There's resources that a teacher can basically access. So I'll click on this one, and this will just download to my computer, and it's going to take me out there, but that's fine. We'll click here. And this one here is for year 4 science. So we can see again, here are the video outcomes. Here's how it aligns to the curriculum in a variety of ways. And here are some fantastic activities that we can use. So what this is all about is basically giving teachers access to fantastic video content, and then also giving them a worksheet that's going to, 1, save them time, and 2, give them something that is directly working in line with what the video is saying, rather than trying to come up with something yourself. The reason for that is it's going to give teachers the opportunity to spend more time doing what they should be doing, which is teaching. They can get this resource out there. They can understand, look at the data, understand where their students are at, and then focus specifically on different user groups within their classroom and deliver a lesson differently based on what their students need. So it's going to give them a bit more flexibility in that sense. Again, you can see there's 12 pages, 13 pages of activities, and that's just one of the resources within here. Now you'll find that on different ClickView videos, there's going to be a variety of different content resources. There's maths documents with pages and pages and pages of questions. There's going to be science documents with little practical experiments and things like that. There's going to be essay questions for your top level English stuff, lots of different things. So your teacher's going to be able to dive in. They're going to be able to search for what they need. They're going to be able to see if it's curriculum aligned, and they're going to have resources and things to go along with it as well. Now I'm just going to pop into the libraries here. And yours will look slightly different to mine because I've got some fancy little bits in here and some shared libraries and things. Every school's will look slightly different, and existing customers will know that they might even have their own school library in here. But what I wanted to show you as well is, if I click into the secondary library here, we have, as I mentioned before, some fantastic personal development resources in here. So it's not just your core subjects. You can dive in here. We've got a few hundred videos around careers and study skills and interview skills. Lots of different bits and bobs here. I will highly recommend as well under personal development and health. Scroll down a smidge here. We've got these series, Head Ventures and Meditation. So taking your students through breathing exercises, bits and pieces to make sure that they're happy. There's a wide variety of content on here that you're probably not, sort of going to expect just having a bit of a search. So do have a bit of a browse through. This series I actually really love as well. It's a online safety with a bit of like a Minecraft skin on it. And we've had really, really great feedback around this one. So online safety videos. This Head Ventures series, for example, as well, we're also working with the provider of these videos on a webinar next term. So that webinar is going to have her go through how you can use all these tools yourself as a teacher, and then also how you can use those understandings of basically those breathing techniques and things to work with your students as well. So variety of different content in there to have a bit of a look at. Are there any questions, Abigail, that have popped up before I move on? No? All good.
No, it's very, very quiet on the question front. But as we said, please come off mute if you've got something as well, or pop it in the chat, and then I'll get Hayden to address it.
Yeah, I'm probably doing such a good job explaining, Abigail. It goes without saying. The other thing I'll show you as well, just because I think I'm just really keen to show you the breadth of content. If I pop into Exchange, we have a featured channel section with different teachers who've uploaded flip lessons into ClickView as well. So there's even teacher created content in here, just to be very South Australian focused. Jeremy Lacornu, I think he might have moved, but he was the assistant principal at Seaview High School up around the corner. I know Amy did a lot of this stuff when she was over at Brighton. Somewhere down here, Nelso was over at Cadena Memorial School. I remember when he was doing those. And down here, Robert is at Unley High School. He's the arts teacher at Unley High School. So South Australians in there, Australian teachers, and also teachers from the UK and things as well. But these are basically teachers doing your job, your staff's job, and they're uploading flip lessons into the platform for you guys to utilize as well. So a really wide breadth of content aside from the TV shows and things like that you'll obviously get on here. Now, the other thing. Oh, yep.
Yep. Not a question, but I just thought I'd mention that the teachers that put stuff on ClickView are vetted. Is that correct?
Yes, of course.
It's just not everyone putting them up. So it is high quality videos that come into this section.
Oh, 100%. These are all, honestly, like the level that these guys go to, they are 100% experts, not just in their field in teaching, but also in delivering a video lesson. So actually on that note, I'll mute his intro music because I can't stand his intro music. But you can see here, just Science Steve here. He's got the light board going, he's got all the bells and whistles. The video is 1 minute 20 long. So it's dead short. It's to the point. It's covering one really specific topic, but it's delivering it in an interesting way, which is what we're after. So you can see the sort of technology he's got here. And I would, Science Steve is the starting point, even if you're not a science teacher, would be a great place to start. The other one I would say, if you're into the humanities side of things, not South Australian, but Stephen here is the 2-3 years ago, he got named a top 50 teacher in the world. I don't know how you get named a top 50 teacher in the world, but he did. He's got some really fantastic videos in there as well. So Steve and Science Steve are two real standouts for me, but they're all fantastic in their own right. Now, the last thing I'm really keen to sort of show you, just in terms of that pedagogy side of things, is we do have these interactive question sets on here. So if I can find one, this video here has one, I know that. This just says that there's an interactive on here. Now, what an interactive is a video, I can scroll down and hit play, that has questions on top of it. So when we get to a certain part of the video, the question's going to pause, the video is going to pause even, and questions are going to pop out. So you can have an in-class discussion, but students can fill this out hit save, and as I mentioned, this is going to provide real-time feedback. So as a teacher, you're actually able to get these results in and make some really informed decisions about how you're going to teach this topic going forwards. Use it as a bit of formative assessment before a quiz or an exam. Lots of different techniques there. The other really cool thing about the interactives are they are all compatible with the immersive reader. So if I do have a student who English isn't their first language, or potentially they just need it read out, we can do that. And we can also, if I go to this book up here, choose a language. Sorry, I'll just move the camera.
Hayden,
yes?
I don't think you shared the sound when you shared your screen, so we couldn't hear it, but yeah.
I'm sorry, you'll get the idea. I promise it's making right sound. You might have a student who speaks Bulgarian. I don't know why. I don't know many people who speak Bulgarian, but anyway, there we go. We've got Bulgarian. I haven't shared sound, but that was probably a good thing with Science Steve's intro music anyway, so we worked that out. But you can change it to any language. So really fantastic for languages teachers, really fantastic if you've got students who English isn't their first language, or you've got students who who have problems with auditory issues, and they can basically use this tool, visual issues, and use that as well. So lots of tools there. I won't show you in detail how to use this, but I will show you, if I pop into my workspace here, interactive videos, and go to page 500, because I never delete these. Here we are, view results. You can see at a glance how your class did. You can dive into your individual questions and see where your gaps are, which students did well, which students struggled. And you can also, if I dive into old Nat 5 here, you can see on an interactive timeline which parts of the video they watched, i.e. this little bit of orange here, and which parts of the video they skipped, i.e. the rest of the bar's black. So in Nat's case, he's just skipped to the questions, put an answer in, and not watched the video. And that discussion that I have with Nat is obviously very, very different to a discussion with a student who got everything wrong but watched the whole video. And it's really important from a teaching perspective, if you are spending the time doing something like this, that you have that layer of accountability there that's going to make sure that the work you've done has been viewed, has been listened to, and is providing a better result than having done something way previously. So there is that tooling available. And your teachers and students will also have the opportunity to create their own interactive question sets. So a student could create questions to test each other, to ask their teacher questions to show their understanding, annotations on science practical to show their understanding, lots of different tools there, but I won't spend too much time on it. So again, ClickView, curriculum aligned, resources built in Australia, and the tooling to take things really to the next level. So you're turning video, which when I was in school was, something you did at 2:40 on a Thursday afternoon because the teacher couldn't be bothered teaching anymore, to something that's actually going to be incredibly valuable, engaging, and also, going to lead to really good outcomes when it comes to tests and things like that. Cool. Were there any questions that have popped up, or is everyone pretty happy with that?
We've got one question about pricing, which I've said we're going to a little bit later.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, I'll move back onto how to connect with me if you wanted to take over for the how our partnership works section. Have a go.
Yep, sure. So if your school is currently using ClickView, nothing will change unless you've received an email from me regarding how you access it. So a few schools have been accessing ClickView not through the department sign-on at the moment. They've had a different access method. So if you've received an email from me or from the team, that would be the case. Otherwise, if you've been using ClickView through EdPass already with your @schools email addresses, nothing will change for you. The only change will be that you won't be billed through ClickView, you'll be billed through the department instead. And this will happen as a res adjustment in March, and you'll be billed according to the February census. Now, in the agreement we've signed, we've worked out a price per student, which comes up at $8 per student. So this will be billed in March according to the February census data. Now, if you're a current customer who's already paid for some of this year or all of this year, that we've got that information from ClickView, so you won't be charged twice. That will be credited or rolled over for your subscription this year and for next year if you've got some credit rolled over. If you give it a go and you're finding that staff aren't using it, we will get in contact and talk to you about your usage. So please don't let the price put you off giving it a go, because we do really see that the platform has a lot of value, which is why we've signed this agreement. If you are a primary school wanting to access ClickView, you aren't currently included in our agreement. However, please get in touch with Hayden and he'll be able to work out access for you as a primary school. Are there any questions around access and pricing? Thanks, Sonia, for shaking your head. I appreciate it. Katrina, does that answer your question?
I just wanted to ask, so I have access now and I'm sort of playing around with it. So how long, so we can use that now, and obviously we haven't paid for anything. So how's it working? Because I've sort of said to the teachers at my school about it, but we haven't paid anything.
No, so what will happen is in March, we have a look at your school data. So if Shindon used it a bit now and didn't use it later, we just have a conversation and find out why. But if you're using it and you find it's fantastic, which we hope you will because we believe in this product, then in March, we look and see Finden's High has been using the product a lot, and then we do the res adjustment then. But we will get in contact with your school before that happens. Does that make sense, Katrina?
Yes,
Yep.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Abigail. I think to your sort of question about usage and stuff, Katrina, that probably comes back to me. If I haven't made this clear, I'm based in Adelaide. I live over at Marion, so I'm not far away unless you're over on the Yorke Peninsula or something. But I still get out there anyway. Essentially, we'll send out this stuff, but my email's here, my phone number's here. As I said, I've been with ClickView for a number of years now, so I'd like to consider myself reasonably au fait with the platform and video learning generally. And I've done a lot of sessions that range from just training staff on what buttons to press in ClickView to, like, I did a session, for example, with Adelaide Botanic where I sat down with all the heads of department at Adelaide Botanic, and we touched on ClickView for about 20 minutes and we just talked about creating flipped lessons. So I've got a whole range of different training experiences depending on where you're at and what you're sort of after. And that kind of brings me to my next steps. Do have a login to ClickView, as you've already done, Katrina. Share with staff the how to log in video and bits and pieces on our ClickView landing page for the department. Identify someone at your school who you think would be great as a ClickView champion. Traditionally, IT or library. Library, obviously, resource centre, that sort of thing, can be used to deliver resources and help share things out in bits and bobs. And if we have a contact at your school, what we can then do is go, okay, this person is going to, rather than annoying all the stuff, this person's going to get our content update emails once every couple of months, and then they can share out with the relevant people at their school. So if you've got someone you think would be great in that role, let us know. And then get in touch with me to book a training for your staff. I mean, you've basically got the platform until March, regardless. You can obviously have a chat to me and get me out. And I always say, you know, if you were to get someone out from Sydney or somewhere to do a training session around video learning, that's going to probably cost you a couple of grand. So get me out. I know one or two things, and I'm happy to sit down with your staff a couple of times and make sure they not only know how to use ClickView, but have some of those tools when it comes to the real pedagogy behind video learning. And that leads me on to questions. If there were any follow-up questions to what was already been asked, or any questions about the partnership, anything else you want me to dive into platform-wise before we call it an afternoon?
I'm sorry, I possibly missed you saying this, Hayden. What's the cost of you coming out to schools?
Oh, it's free. Well, I mean, it's part of the deal, and you've got ClickView for free, quotation marks, until March, so it's
beautiful.
Free.
Lovely, thanks.
Yeah, so get me. You guys are just down south of me, aren't you?
Yeah, we're at Wollonga.
Get me down.
So
yeah, absolutely. Get me down. I'll pop in and say g'day.
Cool, thanks.
No worries. Beautiful. All right. Well, I will stop presenting my screen there. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Abigail?
No, just thank you everyone for joining this session. It looks like, unless we have any more questions, we've finished a little bit early, but that's always a good thing in terms of how busy people are. So I might stop the recording now. I will follow up with an email with some of those addresses that we